Hello, Sage. Wishing everyone is doing great, making it through all these interesting times that we're living in. Great to be back interviewing, as I've been busy creating, recording, and preparing for upcoming events. For those of you who may not have heard, Sage has a new store on Shopify. You'll find interviews, products, and merchandise at sagetalkshow.myshopify.com. I'm definitely continuing to create content that stimulate, educate, and inspire. Thank you once again to all of my subscribers. Once again, that's sagetalkshow.myshopify.com. We have a special guest today. One of upstate New York's legendary radio personalities is here. He's going to share with us expertise from a career spanning over 30 years. The ups, the downs, and what he feels about the direction of radio in today's society. Let's welcome Rochester, New York's legendary radio personality, Todd Anderson. Hello, Todd Anderson. Thank you for coming on to Sage.
Appreciate it. My pleasure.
I have a couple questions that I'd like to ask you, but before I do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, from Rochester, New York. I grew up all around music. My mom tap danced. She was really, really into music. My stepdad played acoustic bass. He was very talented, played with Count Basie when he was 17 years old. So needless to say, there was music all around me. And at 10 years old, I started collecting albums. I would go downtown to Record Theater with my little money that I had from delivering newspapers, and I would look at album covers and choose the ones that looked most interesting. So from there, I actually took my entire record collection to college with me. I went to college in Springfield, Ohio, Wittenberg University, and had no idea that they had a radio station. So the fact they had a radio station and you could apply for a radio show, I did that. I had no intent to say anything on the radio. I just wanted to share my music. So they gave me a radio show. I was on every Tuesday morning, which was actually Monday night, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I'd have to get up out of my dorm room and go to the radio station, and I would just play music for 3 hours. And the music I was playing seemed to be very attractive to a lot of listeners. Eventually, I got brave enough to do the weather one day, and I did the weather, and I came back to my dorm, and one of my teammates, I played football for Wittenberg University, one of my teammates said, "You have a really good voice for radio." And I just brushed it off like, yeah, right. I didn't like the way I sounded. It kind of encouraged me. Then I had another friend, his name is Terry Armstrong, and he encouraged me to be on college radio. Put an application in and send my demo tape to a radio station called WDAO in Dayton, Ohio. And I did that, and I got hired as a part-time weekend DJ. My name was Dr. Todd on the radio. So that's pretty much the story in terms of how I got involved in radio.
And how has the radio industry changed since you first started?
When I first started, there was no such thing as a CD or no computers, just a turntable and an analog signal that operated off of an antenna, radio antenna. Obviously, these days, everything is digital. There are no more turntables, so to speak. It was analog, so there were no computers. And beyond there being no computers and just turntables, and you're playing literal vinyl records, when it came time to produce a radio commercial, you had to record your radio commercial on a reel-to-reel tape. And then on the reel-to-reel tape, you'd have to use a grease pencil and a literal splicing board and a razor blade to cut the tape and cut stuff out that you didn't want in there. So people hear the music and they hear the announcer, but they don't know what equipment's being used. So I'm saying behind the scenes, what people can't see, that's drastically changed.
And what are some common misconceptions that people may have about being a radio DJ?
Well, the main misconception people have is that people believe that the air personalities that they hear on the radio are DJs, uh, and and air personalities aren't necessarily DJs. Because the average person would, if you ask average person, like, what is a DJ? They would tell you that a DJ, or they would visualize somebody, going from one record to the next, or playing records and mixing and so on and so forth. And relative to radio, air personalities don't do any of that. All the music is chosen for you. And it's a surprise to many young people who want to get involved in radio, and they think, that they're going to be DJ and play music and mix music, and that's not the case. You're literally an announcer, so you're reading stuff that you're told to read, and you're selling the radio station and selling the music that you're playing verbally. So that's a great misconception that people have in terms of what they're hearing on the radio. What they're actually hearing is somebody reading everything that they're saying. It just doesn't sound like they're reading. And of course, air personalities are ad-libbing what they're reading, so it doesn't sound like they're reading. The music end of it is pretty much null and void.
So, how did you balance your passion for music with the commercial aspect of the job?
No, well, for me personally, and this doesn't go for everyone, but I had a love for music. So just the fact that I was able to play, that was enjoyable for me. You're on the radio, you're playing the music you like, and you get to introduce the music and introduce the songs creatively, and so it's a lot of fun. And I want to say some more about that. So initially, it was a lot of fun playing music, and then when you're on the radio for a while, you begin to realize that this job has nothing to do with music. Like, your role relative to the job that you're doing has nothing to do with music. Like, you're not responsible for picking the music. The music is pretty much irrelevant relative to the job that you're doing, unless you're the program director that programs the music. And most air personalities are not the program director. They're just told what to say, and sell promotions that the radio station is doing, or give the time and temperature and give people information. And then along with that, you're introducing songs. So you begin to realize that this job really has nothing to do with the music. Fortunately for me, I was playing the type of music that I liked. The motivation to continue doing this job was the fact that you're making money. So that became more of the motivation aside from enjoying the music. I also want to tell you, Addie, that there's a lot of psychology with respect to how radio stations are programmed. You listen to a radio station and you hear the same songs. You begin to learn the words, and it's repetition. So there's a lot of psychology involved in that. And then on the air personality side, there's a lot of psychology involved in that, because radio, among radio people, we understand that radio is theater of the mind. So you're actually, when you're a DJ or an announcer on the radio, air personality, whatever you want to call it, you're actually acting. You're an actor, because most people who are on the radio, they don't. If you were to meet them in person, many DJs try to maintain that facade when in person, but in the privacy of their own home, they're not sounding like they do on the radio. So it's all theater of the mind. It's meant to keep people engaged, excited, and a lot of psychology involved in it. And as I said, it's for an air personality or someone who's on the radio, it's literally theater of the mind.
When you discovered that, did it change the aspects of you wanting to continue being in radio?
Without realizing that you're acting and that you're a glorified salesperson on the radio, because you're actually selling something. You're selling the radio station. You're selling the song that you're playing. you're selling any promotion the radio station might be doing, or if it's a product that you have to talk about, you have to sell that product and make it sound exciting or make it sound interesting and entice people to want to buy it. Was that a revelation to me? Yeah, eventually it was. I understood that that's what you're getting paid for.
Did it take away any of your passion?
No, it didn't, because I enjoyed playing the music, and it didn't take away any passion because I realized that I had been given this God gifted talent to be able to do what I do.
For those who may have just now joined us, we are speaking with Todd Anderson. We're talking about his career as a radio personality, and he's giving us the ups and downs, ins and outs of what it's like to have been in radio for 45 plus years. What do you see as the future of radio in the next decade?
Radio's changing with respect to it not simply being audio that you listen to in your car. Take, for instance, The Breakfast Club. Their radio program is on YouTube, and you can go watch it. So radio's changed in that respect, and that probably will be the future of radio, is to be more visual than it is audible. If you talk about radio in a literal sense, a radio is a piece of equipment, and radios don't really exist anymore outside of your car. Radio will still exist as it exists now. More than likely in your car, you'll be able to get into your car and listen to either a radio station or a service that you pay for, or you can Bluetooth your phone into your radio and listen to your radio like that.
As a radio personality, can you give me 3 don'ts?
Don't use any profanity. Don't think that once you leave your job, you're no longer representing the radio station you work for. I would say don't think that you are bigger than the radio station itself, because you don't own the station. And at any given moment, you could be told that the station is either changing format or going in a different direction, and you no longer have a job. Do know how to read. Everything that you say on the radio, you're reading it. When people do radio commercials, you hear the radio commercials 9 times out of 10, the announcer is reading a script. So yeah, reading is definitely a very fundamental part of being on the radio.
So let me ask you, who make up the scripts that you read when you're doing commercials?
Most radio stations have salespeople who are not on the radio, and their job is to go out and sell advertising. And when those salespeople meet with clients, they get the information from the client as to what the client wants to advertise on the radio, and they creatively come up with a script that's pleasing to the client. And if the client is pleased with the script and the way it's written, then they give that script to the DJ. When your shift ends, more than likely you're going to be assigned to do a radio commercial. Whatever that assignment is, you're given a script to go into a different studio called a production studio, and you put music behind whatever it is you have to say, appropriate music, and then you deliver the script. And that moment, you're pretty much a salesperson trying to sell the product that you're talking about, relative to the script that was written for you to read.
Is that a separate pay for the radio personalities?
No. Nope. It's all a part of your job.
Would you advise anyone to go into radio in this day and age?
Yeah, I would definitely urge anyone interested in being involved in radio to be involved in radio, but there's a catch related to what I'm saying, and the catch is that if you want to become involved in radio, the best avenue to be most successful is to aspire to be a talk radio host, aside from being an air personality that is on a radio station that plays music. And I'm saying that because Air personalities who play music on the radio are literally a dime a dozen. And ultimately you're working for a company. There's no ownership. It's a job. So eventually, as you get older, eventually, no matter how popular you may be, Tom Joyner is one of those examples. Tom Joyner is no longer on the radio. Age wise, he kind of aged out. Charlemagne, he's got a ways to go. He's a young guy, but as he gets older, his appeal as an air personality and image just won't fit what the radio station is trying to do in terms of the type of music they're playing relative to reaching a certain demographic.
Why is that?
Well, it's because the buying power across this country is relative to anyone who's between 18 and 34 years old. Those are the people that spend the most money.
Looking back at your career and meeting all the different celebrities, what is the most memorable moment that you've had on air?
Probably Aretha Franklin. That was probably the most memorable, interviewing her. She was scheduled to call the radio station at a certain time, and I was going to interview her, and the time went by that she was supposed to call, and so I just went on doing my work, and then the telephone rang, and I answered it, and I remember her saying, "This is Mrs. Franklin. I'm very, very, very sorry that I'm late calling. I was busy cleaning my house, and I got distracted." And I remember saying to her, "Miss Franklin, it's such an honor and pleasure speaking with you." And then I said, "You were cleaning your own house? Don't you have somebody to do that for you?" And she said, "No, honey, I just do everything myself. I clean my own house. I do everything for myself. I don't have any nanny or any maids or anything. I just do everything myself." So that was pretty memorable.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind in the radio industry?
I would say that I'm much different than the average air personality. I was never drawn to the celebrity status where most DJs, go out in public and they like the attention. And they even have a DJ name. I mean, I was just me, Todd Anderson. So I didn't have a DJ name. It wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot of color and flair relative to my radio career. So for me, radio was literally a job, and it was a job relative to the gift that God gave me to be able to, to do this job and have a voice that was, appropriate and conducive for radio. So in terms of wanting to leave a legacy, I'm being just very straightforward with you. I don't have any desire to leave any type of legacy. You may ask me that question because you've heard me on the radio before, and in your eyes I was a celebrity on the radio, but you have to take into account that you can multiply that scenario by literally thousands of radio announcers and air personalities who have been on the radio just like myself. In terms of leaving a legacy, if I'd been a talk show host and I could have said something that impacted a person's life or made them think differently or so on and so forth, let me put it in this perspective. Like a Steve Harvey, the way he does his radio show is he tries to impact people's lives and talks about God and having a relationship with the Lord. He talks about that every day. Most air personalities and radio announcers, DJs, don't have radio programs like that. And I have to say it this way. Literally, for me, radio was a job. Although I was very good at it, I wasn't necessarily paid relative to my gift and talent, because, as I said, radio DJs are a dime a dozen. Maybe and only a legacy such that I was good at that I was good at being creative, and I don't know.
I'm amazed that you say that because, as you said, yes, I am someone who listened to you along with a lot of other people, and you definitely did inspire a lot of us. you have no idea how much people talked about your name. That's something that will always be, when you think of Rochester, New York, you think of Todd Anderson, you think of WDKX, you think of the other DJs that were there, especially during that time. You had a 45 plus year career. That's a legacy. On the outside, we are looking at it like you were an influencer. You were someone who inspired us to get up and go and do things, go to concerts, go to events, go to this. There's so much more that you have done for us on the outside. The MC to announce the concerts, the people that we love. You were a part of that. And that is a celebrity status to us. And so that's why I say you had a legacy. And what would you like to leave regarding your legacy? A lot of people do not get interviewed. They're looking for that Tom Joyner, Steve Harvey status. But in our eyes, you were definitely our celebrity. DJ, radio personality, inspire, influencer, all that, and more.
I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. So what's going on with you now?
Yeah, I still do radio commercials, creative radio commercials, full production radio commercials. A lot of people ask me, and I'll say, well, I do voiceover work, but I produce full radio ads, meaning that I put a lot of creativity and thought into the commercials that I do. If you're a client listening and you're interested in selling your product on the radio, I'll write the script for you, get the information that you want to get across to potential customers, and draw them to your business. And I'll do that creatively, put the appropriate music, any sound effects, or any type of creative elements that will attract a person to your business. So that's what I do. I have a company called Hotspots Recording LLC. The website is hotspotsrecordingllc.com, and that's HOTSPOTS. It's Hotspots plural, Recording LLC at .com. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do these days. I do a number of concert spots across the country and different commercials promoting different products for clients and companies.
Thank you, Todd Anderson, legendary Todd Anderson, for this interview. And I hope that, we can do it again, maybe sometime in the future.
Appreciate it. My pleasure.
Todd Anderson.
Here comes the 16th Annual Pan-African Festival, presented by Rochester Above, Saturday, August 3rd at Highland Bowl, an event for the entire family. The theme for this year's 16th Annual Pan-African Festival is One Tribe, a day-long event Saturday, August 3rd from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. More than 15 performers, also food vendors and activities for the kids. Tickets are only $10 and free for children under 12. Tickets at CC Divine Hair Design, Beads and Bangles, and online at panaffestival.org. Saturday, August 3rd at Highland Bowl, the 16th Annual Pan-African Festival.